The Texas sun burned gold that afternoon, spilling through the kitchen window of Harper Walsh's modest ranch house in Lubbock. It painted the worn wooden countertops in a glow that felt almost holy. Like it could soften the edges of whatever was coming. Harper stood at the sink, scrubbing dirt from her calloused hands, the scent of rosemary and sage still clinging to her skin from the garden. She'd just yanked a stubborn weed from the herb bed when her phone buzzed on the counter, rattling against a chipped coffee mug. A text from her younger sister, Sienna. Harper's lips curved into a half-smile, expecting a quick question about the wildflowers she'd promised for Sienna's wedding centerpieces. Maybe a goofy selfie or a last-minute panic about table settings. But when she swiped open the message, the air in the room seemed to vanish. Hey, just a heads up, we finalized the guest list. Had to make some tough calls. Hope you get it. Love ya. Harper blinked, her thumb frozen over the screen. She read it again, then a third time, each word sinking deeper, sharper. Tough calls, she muttered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the ancient fridge. She wasn't Sienna's florist or some distant acquaintance from yoga class. She was her sister, her only sister, and yet, somehow, she'd been reduced to a name scratched off a list. A casualty in Sienna's quest for the perfect wedding aesthetic. Her heart thudded, loud and unsteady, as she stared at the screen. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe Sienna had meant to text someone else, a coworker, a cousin twice removed, but no, Harper's name sat at the top. Unmistakable. She set the phone face down, like it had just spat in her face, and leaned against the counter, hands still dripping. The warmth of the sunlight felt mocking now, too bright for the cold realization creeping in. She'd seen the warning signs, hadn't she? They'd been flickering for weeks, like a neon sign on its last legs. There was the bridesmaid style guide, emailed to the wedding party under the subject line, chic and timeless. Let's elevate. No jeans, no boots, and please, no rustic patterns. Keep it sleek. Think coastal elite. Sienna had written, her words dripping with a vision Harper didn't fit. Harper was Lubbock, dusty fields, faded sundresses, and hands that knew the weight of hard work. She wasn't coastal elite, whatever that meant. She was West Texas, through and through, and apparently, that clashed with the glossy narrative Sienna was curating for her big day. Harper had tried to shrug it off. She'd laughed at Sienna's teasing jabs about her cowgirl chic vibe. Bitten her tongue when Sienna suggested she dial it back for the rehearsal dinner. But this was different. This wasn't a suggestion or a joke. This was a blade, delivered via text, so casual it felt like a slap. She stood there, water pooling on the counter, her pulse louder than her thoughts. She thought about calling her mom, Evelyn, but the script was already clear in her mind. Oh, honey, don't make a fuss, Evelyn would say, her voice all syrup and deflection. It's just a wedding. Let's keep the peace. Peace. That word felt like a curse. A demand for silence while Harper was slowly erased from the family portrait. She stepped outside, the screen door creaking behind her. The sunset was bleeding orange and pink across the horizon, the air thick with the scent of earth and lavender. She knelt by the garden, tugging at another weed, its roots clinging stubbornly to the soil. Weeds didn't ask for permission to exist. They just did, and people either dealt with them or pretended they weren't there. For years, Harper had pretended, smiled through slights, paid bills no one thanked her for, shown up when no one else would. But this was a line crossed, a wound too deep to ignore. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't look. It was probably Evelyn, or worse, a follow-up from Sienna with a link to her latest Instagram post, a bridal robe reveal or some curated nonsense. Harper stayed out there, knees in the dirt. As the sky darkened, her mind churned, replaying every moment she'd been there for Sienna. The nights Sienna sobbed into her lap over a breakup. The time Harper drove 4 hours to cover her rent when Evelyn said she needed to figure it out. All those moments. And now this. A text. A dismissal. A betrayal dressed up as a tough call. Back inside, the kitchen was quiet, the phone still face down. Harper picked it up, her fingers trembling as she reread the message. The tone, the fake warmth, The cowardice of it made her stomach twist. She smiled, but it wasn't kind. It was the smile of someone who'd reached a breaking point, where something inside snapped. Quiet but final. She deleted the text. And in that moment, a question took root. Was family ever real? Or just a convenient story? The next week passed in a haze. Like wading through fog with no map. Harper kept waiting for Sienna to call. To explain. To offer even a half-baked apology. But the silence was thick. Deliberate. Like a wall built to keep her out. One night, she stood barefoot in the kitchen. Eating leftover pecan pie straight from the tin. Scrolling Instagram on autopilot. She wasn't looking for trouble. But trouble found her. Sienna's post glowed on the screen. Bridal shower magic. Endless thanks to Landon's incredible family for making our dream wedding possible. A photo of Sienna. Radiant. Her hair in perfect waves. Surrounded by champagne flutes and peonies. Every tag linked to Landon's mom's event company. His sister's bakery. His dad's golf resort. Not a single mention of Harper. She stared until her thumb cramped. Refreshing the post. Checking the comments. The stories. Nothing. No tag. No nod. No trace of her. $40,000. That's what Harper had wired, quietly. Without fanfare, for the venue. The caterer. Even the deposit on Sienna's custom gown. When Sienna said she was drowning in planning, Harper stepped in. Because that's what sisters do. And now? She was a ghost. Erased from the narrative she'd helped write. She set the phone down. The fridge's hum the only sound in the room. Her pulse pounded in her ears as memories flooded back. Late nights on the phone with Sienna after her first heartbreak. Holding her hair back when she got sick from crying. The time Harper worked double shifts to cover Sienna's emergency car repair. None of it mattered now. It didn't fit the polished, Instagram-worthy story Sienna and Landon were crafting. Against her better judgment, Harper called Evelyn. Her mom answered on the first ring. Voice bright as a TV ad. Hey, sweetheart, everything okay? Harper swallowed her anger, asking as calmly as she could why Sienna hadn't mentioned her in the post. A pause. Just long enough to sting. Oh, honey, don't worry about that, Evelyn said, her tone sliding into that familiar, dismissive soothe. Social media's just fluff. Don't take it so seriously. I paid for the wedding. Mom, Harper said, her voice tight. I know, and we're all grateful, Evelyn replied. Too quick, too smooth. No, you're not, Harper snapped. If you were, I wouldn't be scrolling through comments about Landon's amazing family, like I don't exist. Evelyn sighed, that sigh. The one that said here she goes again. You're reading too much into it. Harper, you always do this. You take things so personally. Harper pulled the phone away, staring at it like it might apologize for her mother. It didn't. Right, she said, her voice ice cold. Guess I expected too much. She hung up. The silence in the kitchen heavier than before. It wasn't comforting anymore. It felt like abandonment, like she'd been left behind in a house that no longer belonged to her. Days later, Harper was out by the fence line, yanking weeds under the relentless Texas sun, when her phone buzzed. A text from Riley, Sienna's college friend who always played neutral but never hid her opinion that Sienna could be a lot. OMG. So sorry. Meant to send this to Jenna. Ignore. Attached was a screenshot from the bridal planning group chat. Harper's stomach dropped, but she opened it anyway. Sienna's message was at the top. My sister's sweet, but totally off-brand. Can we keep it tight? Landon doesn't even want her there. Below it, Evelyn's reply. Let's keep it small. No need to upset Harper unnecessarily. The words hit like a punch. Solid and final. Harper froze, the phone trembling in her hand. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a seating chart issue. This was a plan, one she wasn't supposed to see. Every dodged call, every awkward pause, every, don't take it personally, suddenly made sense. It was personal, always had been. She saved the screenshot, naming the folder, Truth. There was no more pretending. She wasn't the oversensitive sister. The one who overreacted. She was the invisible one. Erased by design. She sat on the back porch, the phone resting on her lap like evidence in a trial. Her pulse was steady, But something inside had hardened. Like the calm before a storm. "I'm done," she whispered to the empty air. Not out of anger or heartbreak. But clarity. They didn't want her. Not the real her. Not the sister who'd held Sienna through heartbreak. Paid for her emergency dental bill. Worked overtime to cover wedding deposits. They wanted the idea of family. Not the roots that held it together. That night, Harper couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan spun in lazy circles above her bed. Her mind unraveling every moment she'd said yes to keep the peace. Peace. Another curse word. Demanding her silence so others could live loudly without guilt. She sat up, opened her laptop, and pulled up the vendor sites. Florist, caterer, venue, all under her name. All prepaid or pending. Control, she realized, shifted quietly. She'd thought she was helping. Supporting. Holding it all together. But they'd let her build the foundation just to paint over her. One by one, she cancelled the contracts. Venue, terminated. Florist, refunded. Caterer, cancelled. With a penalty she didn't care about. 23 minutes to undo $40 of blind loyalty. When she closed the laptop, she didn't feel guilt. She felt free, like she'd scrubbed a stain from her soul. She poured a glass of wine, opened her email, and typed a message to Sienna, Landon, and Evelyn. Subject: Plan changed. Please update your financials. I've withdrawn from all remaining wedding contracts. Effective immediately. You wanted me out? It's done. No warmth. No apology. Just truth. She hit send, sipped her wine, and waited. No one replied. Not yet. She grabbed her phone, opened a travel app, and scrolled. Charleston, beachfront suite. No family. No drama. She clicked confirm. The tickets booked in seconds. They thought her silence was surrender. They were wrong. This was war. And Harper had just fired the first shot. The Lubbock sky was a bruised purple as Harper Walsh stood in the airport lounge. Her small carry-on at her feet. A mimosa sweating in her hand. The hum of rolling suitcases and muffled gate announcements felt like a distant pulse. Barely touching her, she'd packed light, 3 linen dresses. A swimsuit. A dog-eared paperback she'd never finished. No photos. No keepsakes. Nothing to tether her to the life she was leaving behind. The boarding pass on her phone read San Juan, Puerto Rico, a destination chosen not for its beaches but for its promise of silence. A place where no one expected her to fix anything. She sipped her drink, the citrus sharp on her tongue, and let the weight of the past week slip away like sand through her fingers. She wasn't running. She was reclaiming. It had been 48 hours since she'd cancelled the wedding contracts. $40 of her own money. Wired quietly to vendors for Sienna's dream day. Now undone in 23 minutes of cold precision. The email she'd sent to Sienna, her fiancé Landon, and their mother Evelyn still echoed in her mind. You wanted me out? It's done. No one had replied. Not even a whisper of protest. The silence was louder than she'd expected. But it wasn't empty. It was freedom. Raw and unapologetic. Harper leaned back in her seat, watching planes taxi across the tarmac. For the first time in years, she felt untangled, like a knot in her chest had finally loosened. Her phone buzzed, snapping her back. A message from Riley, Sienna's college friend who'd accidentally sent her the damning screenshot that exposed the family's betrayal. Harper hesitated, then opened it. A voice memo. She pressed play. Riley's voice spilling out, low and urgent. Harper, you're not gonna believe this. It's a mess. Landon walked out, in the middle of the reception. They had a huge fight behind the scenes. Screaming. The works. He just left. Peeled out of the parking lot. The DJ stopped playing. People were whispering. And your mom tried to keep it together. But it was chaos. Uncle Ray started yelling at her in front of everyone. And get this, they're saying it's your fault. If you'd been there, maybe Landon wouldn't have bolted. Can you believe that? Harper's first reaction wasn't shock or satisfaction. It was a quiet, bubbling disbelief, like steam rising from a cracked pot. She set the phone down, staring at the mimosa glass. Condensation pooling on the table. They'd cut her from the guest list. Erased her from their perfect narrative. Used her money to fund their charade. And now, When it all collapsed, they pointed the finger at her absence? She almost laughed. A dry, bitter sound that caught in her throat. The irony was brutal. She wasn't invited, wasn't wanted, but when the fire started, they needed a scapegoat. Classic. Another buzz. A text from Evelyn. This isn't the time to be petty. Harper, Sienna needs you. Call us. Then one from Sienna. Where are you? He's gone. And I need you. Please. Harper's thumb hovered over the screen. Her pulse steady but her chest tight. Need her? Now? After they'd called her off-brand, planned her exclusion behind her back, and let Landon dictate her worth? She thought of the screenshot Riley sent. Sienna's words burned into her memory. My sister's sweet, but totally off-brand. Landon doesn't even want her there. And Evelyn's reply. No need to upset Harper unnecessarily. They'd scrubbed her from their lives. And now they wanted her to swoop in and play savior? No, not this time. She opened a new message. Typing slowly, deliberately. To Sienna. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing it to protect me. I hope you get that someday. But right now, I need space. To Evelyn. You always said keep the family together. But sometimes that just means hiding the cracks. I'm done hiding. She hit send, then blocked their numbers. Not out of spite, but necessity. She needed air, not just the kind you breathe, but the kind that lets you think without someone else's expectations choking you. She snapped a photo of her mimosa. The airport's glass wall reflecting a sliver of her face, tired but resolute. She posted it to her story with a caption, if you want me gone, I'll make it easy. Then she switched her phone to airplane mode and boarded the plane. The Puerto Rican sun was different, warmer, softer, like it didn't have an agenda. Harper woke to it spilling across her hotel bed, white sheets glowing under its touch. The balcony doors were open, letting in the rhythmic crash of waves and the faint scent of salt and hibiscus. She stretched, her body loose for the first time in weeks, and ordered room service. Pancakes stacked high, fresh mango slices, coffee with a swirl of cream. No alarms, no to-do lists, no one waiting for her to solve their problems. She sat on the balcony, barefoot, the ocean stretching wide and unbothered before her. For the first time, she didn't think about the wedding. Not once. Then her phone lit up. Riley again. 8 messages, a mix of texts and voice memos. Harper sipped her coffee, the mug warm against her palms, and opened the first. Call me. It's insane. She played the memo. Riley's voice breathless. Harper, it's worse than I said. Landon didn't just leave, he told Sienna he couldn't do it. Right there in front of the caterers. She was screaming. He was yelling about optics, and then he was gone. Your mom tried to keep the toasts going, but Uncle Ray lost it. Called her out for cutting you out. Grandma Louise was in tears. It's a total disaster. Harper leaned back, the wicker chair creaking under her. A disaster, sure, but not hers. She scrolled through the texts. Another from Evelyn. Sienna's devastated. You're her sister. Harper, this isn't how we do things. Then Sienna. I messed up. I was scared. Thought it'd be easier without you. But it wasn't. I need you. And Riley's final message. They're spinning it like you caused this. Saying your drama pushed Landon over the edge. It's gross. Harper set the phone down, her gaze drifting to the horizon. The sea shimmered, oblivious to the chaos back in Texas. She took a photo of her coffee mug against the ocean backdrop, the light catching the glass just right. She posted it, captioning it, cut from the list. Still the headline, not my circus. She wasn't gloating. She was done. Done with the narrative that painted her as the problem. The one who took things too personally. The one who needed to keep the peace. Peace built on her silence wasn't peace, it was erasure. She stood, leaning against the balcony railing. The warm Caribbean air brushing her skin. A memory flickered, uninvited. Her mom's voice. Years ago, over iced tea in their backyard. Of course you'll be Sienna's maid of honor. Honey, you're the one she leans on. Harper had believed it, carried it like a promise. But then came the edits, the sidelong glances, the shift in tone, the Instagram post announcing Landon's sister as maid of honor. No call, no text, No explanation. Just Harper, waiting for a role that was never hers. Her phone buzzed again. A photo from Riley. A crumpled piece of yellow paper. Folded like it had lived in someone's purse too long. From Grandma Louise. Riley wrote. She asked me to send this to you. Harper zoomed in. The handwriting was delicate. Shaky but sure. Harper. You were right to walk. They'll learn in your absence what they ignored in your presence. Forgive. Not for them, but for you, so your heart can heal and grow. I see you. Always have. Love. Grandma Louise. Harper read it 3 times. Her throat tightening. She set the phone down. Leaned forward. And let the tears come. Soft. Not loud. Like rain on a quiet morning. Grandma Louise. The one who never played favorites. Who called things as she saw them. Had seen her. Not the sturdy, dependable Harper. Not the sister who paid for everyone else's dreams. But the woman who deserved to be valued. That was enough. More than enough. That evening, Harper wandered down to the beach. Drawn by the glow of a bonfire. A small group of travelers sat in a loose circle. Their laughter mingling with the crackle of flames. No one knew her story. And she liked it that way. They passed around a bottle of rum. Swapping stories about books. The best way to grill plantains. The way sea air made dreams feel vivid. No one asked, "Where you from?" They asked, "Who are you becoming?" Harper paused. The firelight dancing in her eyes. Someone who's done apologizing for being real. She said. Her voice steady. The group nodded. No judgment. Just quiet understanding. She stayed until the stars took over the sky. Their light sharp against the velvet dark. Her phone sat untouched in her pocket. But she pulled it out to snap one last photo, not of the pain. But of the moment. The fire. The waves. The faces blurred in the background. She posted it. Her final word on the mess she'd left behind. I didn't vanish. I just landed where I'm valued. No hashtags. No filters. Just truth. The next morning, a notification pinged. Time to check in for your return flight. Harper stared at it, her coffee cooling on the balcony table. She didn't feel the usual tug of duty. The need to rush back and fix things. She opened the travel app. Her fingers moving before her mind caught up. Another week in Puerto Rico. Not an escape, but a choice. A declaration that her life wasn't a supporting role in someone else's story. Harper's time in Puerto Rico became a quiet rebellion. She woke to the hum of ceiling fans and the rustle of palm leaves. Her mornings sacred, untouched by the chaos back home. She walked the cobblestone streets of Old San Juan, bought mangoes from a street vendor who called her Mija, and sat by the pool, letting the sun sink into her skin. The silence on her phone was honest. Not lonely. No one needed her to pick up the pieces. And she didn't offer. She thought about Grandma Louise's letter. Its words a lifeline. Forgiveness. Not for Sienna or Evelyn or Landon. But for herself, to let go of the guilt. The what-ifs. The years spent shrinking to fit their expectations. Harper had always believed loyalty meant staying. Even when it hurt. That being the bigger person meant swallowing pain to keep the family together. But peace built on self-abandonment wasn't peace. It was a slow death. One night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in pinks and golds, Harper sat by the infinity pool, a glass of rum in hand. The waves roared gently below. A sound that felt like permission to exist without explanation. She thought of the people listening to her story. Maybe out there in Nebraska or New York. Nodding along because they'd felt it too. The sting of being erased by the ones who were supposed to love you most. She wanted them to know they weren't alone. That they could walk away. Not out of weakness, but strength. That they could redefine love. Not as duty, but as respect, starting with themselves. She raised her glass to the sky. A silent toast to the woman she was becoming. You're allowed to leave the table when respect's off the menu. She whispered, her voice lost in the breeze. The stars blinked back, like they agreed. Sienna could have her wedding. Or what was left of it. Evelyn could spin her narratives. Landon could chase his optics. Harper was done pretending she needed their approval. She'd burned the bridge, and she wasn't rebuilding it.